Yes, people, what's good? I'm Kinell, and this is Sinister Cinema, where we get deep into the guts of the stranger side of cinema. Kinell Sinister Cinema is brought to you by Forgotten Sons Apparel. Check them out at ForgottenSonsApparel.co.uk. Forgotten Sons Apparel is a York-based streetwear brand drawing inspiration from alternative culture, tattoos, film, classic TV and cartoons from our childhood. In our own words, if you like our stuff half as much as we do, then we like it twice as much as you. I'm a big fan of this brand and I love the guys who make it. They've supported me for years, way before I was podcasting. They supported me in my battle rap career. You might have seen me rocking some of their garms on Don't Flop and other leagues. I love Forgotten Sons Apparel and I'm urging you all to check them out at ForgottenSonsApparel.co.uk. Right, now on with the show. Yo, Parsley la.
Kinell, how you doing?
Safe, I'm good, you good?
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you, by the way, for asking me back.
Hey, no worries, man. Always a pleasure. Welcome back to the couch. As you can see, things are looking a bit snazzier lately.
It's all been upgraded. This is what happens when you get yourself a really cool sponsor, isn't it?
Yeah, ForgottenSonsApparel.co.uk. Check them out, of course. You'll have seen some of their stuff at the start. Unless you're listening on an audio platform, then you won't have seen it. But you know about them.
But you should go and find it.
Yeah, check them out.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
I'm liking these. Have you done a bit on these yet?
What? No, I haven't mentioned it. Flipping Sinister Cinema pillows.
He's got his own cushions.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
serious stuff. Okay, right, safe. Hey, so we're supposed to better get on with this whole podcast thing then.
Okay.
Yeah, so today, last time we spoke about 70s exploitation movies.
We did. This
time, logical progression. We're going for 80s exploitation movies.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, how do you feel about the 80s as a decade?
Well, as you know, for me, I come from the Blaxploitation end of things. So I've really been... You know when you scrape through the barrel so much that you get through the bottom? We've got stuff from through the bottom of the barrel for you today.
Oh, excellent.
Some fabulous stuff coming up. Yeah, excellent. It was... basically, the major studios had taken over doing a lot of the Blaxploitation stuff. And it really wasn't paying people to do it, so it was quite a quiet decade on that side of things from my end. Yeah. There's
exploitation in general took a few shifts here because we're now at this point we're seeing the point when the major studios are like. They're doing what they did to Blaxploitation. They're taking the aesthetics and the style and the genres that was previously exclusively the domain of independent exploitation producers, and they're making their bigger budget versions of it.
Yeah, and even then, a lot of these that I've been looking at for you this week, they were bigger studio movies on independent budgets as well.
Yeah,
they realised they could make these films for like bugger all.
Oh yeah, this is it. Like, you know, it's that amount spent, the net profit on them always better if you're keeping costs down, and because they took the model and how the independent studios had learned how to do it, and just used it to churn stuff out on the cheap.
Very much so. Very much so.
I've set myself. I've set myself a couple of extra restrictions on this.
Okay.
Because obviously I'm generally pretty horror biased. I've avoided all the big major slasher franchises,
right?
Because I feel like that's because I could just do a whole list on them, like.
And they were kind of more mainstreamy by that point as well, weren't they? Things like the Halloween movies and the Jason movies and what have you.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, particularly the Friday the 13th. I could do a top 5 Friday the 13th. I recently got like the Posh Scream Factory Blu-ray box set of like every Friday the 13th movie.
Right.
And they had like one a year throughout the whole of the 80s. Like, that's quite some achievement. Like, and like, bear in mind, like, at least twice they thought it was going to be the only movie. So like at the point they were releasing a movie, they weren't planning on doing another one. But as soon as their box office receipts start rolling in, they're turning another one round in a matter of months.
It was easy money back then, wasn't it?
Easy.
With franchises like that.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so we'll kick things off. So what's your first selection?
Well, I thought I'd start with one that loads of people, I think, will have seen. It was the first ever Blaxploitation parody movie from '88. It was I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. So that was Keenan Ivory Wayans. That was his first movie written, first movie directed.
Yeah.
And you'd got all the Blaxploitation heroes in there. So Jim Brown was in there, Bernie Casey, Antonio Fargas, who you'll know otherwise as
Huggy Bear.
Huggy Bear.
Yeah.
Isaac Hayes was in it, and Chris Rock was in it as well, though I can't remember if he hit anybody or got hit. But yeah, they were definitely in there. And the story of that was it was gold chains.
Yeah.
Were bringing down the ghettos. And so basically it was going after the gold chains dealers.
Yeah, it was sort of flipping the New Jack City sort of format where it was like crack destroying the ghettos. And
absolutely, yeah. And of course, there's been lots of parody movies of the genre since. You've got things like Black Dynamite that came out, and that's a much more recent one. That's sometime in the last decade. But I remember catching I'm Gonna Get You Sucker on late night TV.
Yeah.
Probably during the school holidays at the time.
Yeah, I think I was in school when I first saw it. Like,
it's a good giggle.
Yeah,
it's a good giggle, and it's well thought through. It's got every single Blaxploitation movie trope in there, and they're just having a good old poke at it. So there you go. That's my first one this week. Nice and easy.
Aye, good stuff. Like I got fun, but I'm gonna have to give that one a rewatch. Like I'm a big fan of that one. Like I remember the thing that always took my head was the platform boots with the platform boots with the fish in it.
Yes, the fish tank boots.
Yeah, that was amazing.
They actually tried to turn it into a TV series as well a couple of years later. There is a filmed pilot in somebody's library somewhere that's never been seen. But apparently, yeah, they I think it was one of the major networks in the States asked for a pilot, got it made, took one look and said, we ain't going to show this and nobody else gets to see it either.
I don't know, like, have you had a real look for it? Because some of these things do tend to leak, like.
Yeah, I'll probably have a dig around on YouTube at some point. I mean, I've re-downloaded I'm Gonna Get You Sucker to watch this weekend because I remembered how funny it was when I was putting my notes together for today.
Oh, yeah. Flipping amazing piece of work. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that one myself. Okay, well, I'm going to switch the vibe completely with what I'm going for. I'm going for Ruggero Deodato's 1980 masterpiece, and I mean masterpiece, Cannibal Holocaust.
I've heard of that.
Yes, very much so. Infamously one of the video nasties.
Of course.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that probably quite right to be a video nasty. And... you know, there's some grim shit in this, including some actual torture of animals. Actual killing of animals. They don't torture the animals, and yeah, that's not something that can ever really be justified. But I'm about to because.
Okay, then.
Well, here we go. Justification of murdering animals for entertainment. Let's go. In 1971, the Australian movie Waking Fright came out, which featured the actual shooting of some kangaroos. This footage was taken... the film crew went out with some kangaroo hunters because it was like just kind of like a little pastime in some of the outback towns where there wasn't much to do at the time. People would just go out, shoot some fucking kangaroos. Anyway, so the footage of the kangaroos being shot in the movies is actual footage of kangaroos being shot.
Okay.
And this horrified the Australian public so much, actually seeing it, because if you weren't from these like outback communities, you didn't see it. Actually seeing kangaroos getting shot and realising that was something that went on, like there was like a moral outrage to it, which led to Parliament in Australia criminalising the hunting of kangaroos, which has saved Fibonacci numbers, literally billions of kangaroos since. So there you go. Killing animals on film, a good thing.
I guess if you if you get someone else to kill them for you to eat them, you can't really moan, can you?
Yeah, and this is one of the ways in which in which they kind of justified it in Cannibal Holocaust, because it was filmed in Papua New Guinea after a brief intro that takes place in New York, and they were filming with like local tribes people, and the animals that they kill on camera in it are the animals that those tribes people eat.
Right.
And so they were just giving them the food that...
okay.
So it was kind of justified during that, like, and it became a thing, like, during the brief but crazy Italian cannibal movie cycle, that's what the filmmakers would do, but I remember Umberto Lenzi, when he did Cannibal Ferox, tried to do the same thing. Found out that the tribe he was filming with, vegetarian. Gutted.
Let me ask you a question, by the way. The guy that directed Cannibal Holocaust, Deodato.
Yes.
Italian guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he related to the Italian disco artist Deodato?
I'm not sure about that. I should Google that, like, because what? Yeah, flipping that.
Because there can't be that many Deodatos in Italy round about that time, could there?
I don't know how common the surname is, like, but like flipping, like he's someone who's had like quite a lot of influence from going on to being sampled several times.
Yeah,
like.
absolutely.
Yeah, and yes, I don't know is the answer to that one, but I will look it up.
Send us a postcard. Tell us.
Yeah, maybe I'll stick it at the bottom of the screen in a caption.
Nice.
Maybe I won't. Who's to say? Who is to say? But yes, anyway, going back to Cannibal Holocaust. This, there's a lot you could say about this. This is one of the first found footage films.
Right.
And like the whole conceit of the plot is that these Americans have gone out to observe this so-called cannibal tribe in Papua New Guinea. Mm-hmm. And it turns out the humans are actual cunts, and they went missing. Someone goes to find them, and they retrieve their footage and find out what happened to them. Basically, they pissed the tribe off until shit went wrong.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very like, this was probably one of the first ones to really use this found footage conceit. And like, one thing about it is it makes it like so real, especially with the animal murders and all that. And of course, like, what happened is, like, Deodato, when the cast all returned to Italy, he told them to like go off into hiding for a bit. So, like, you know, we could sort of like start the rumours of the footage of this cannibal tribe like killing these people and doing all these horrible things, all the horrible things that they did.
Yeah.
Was actually real, like, you know, just have them like kind of disappear. This kind of backfires when he is taken to court for murder.
Because they think he's murdered the missing cast members.
Yes, because there's very realistic footage.
Wow.
That looks like it's been shot by them and recovered. So, the police believed it was an actual snuff movie. So he ended up going to court for that one. So he had to contact the flipping cast members. But, you know, flipping people don't have mobiles in those days. So it took ages to get in touch with him. He's sending letters to like weird Italian villages like that no one's ever flipping visited. And it takes 4 days for the post to get there. But yeah, he got off with a murder charge when all the victims showed up in court to testify.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was a pretty live one. But yeah, this film, there's something about it. As I say, it's probably the best example of the Italian cannibal movie Psycho, which Cycle. I keep saying Psycho when I mean Cycle. But yeah, that kicked off with The Man from Deep River, and they do these films that were built on the Mondo documentary style.
Right.
Like Mondo documentaries were something where they'd like go to weird parts of the world and show you like snake charmers and African tribes and different crazy things. But and it was done with the conceit of showing you these other cultures, but really it was quite exploitational. It was like, look at these weirdos. And like with like Umberto Lenzi's Man from Deep River, what he does there is he goes out with the tribe and he makes a film with them with a plot and characters and that, like, and it, you know, you've got that extra authenticity because it's not like filmed in a studio or something.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So Cannibal Holocaust was Deodato's entry into this, and it's incredibly powerful today. Like, as I say, like I was joking earlier, there is no justification for like showing injury to or murder of animals on screen. But, you know, I do eat meat, so I got to be consistent. And this is a film that is supposed to get under your skin. You're supposed to feel horrible watching it, and it all adds to it, and the visceralness of that adds to it. Like, there's a lot of horrific things in here. Like, you know, when we talk to what happens to humans, there's like flipping Yeah, flipping dicks get cut off, tits get cut off, flipping people get eaten, all kinds of things. Like, I don't really want to go into like too much detail of it because I could literally just burn a whole hour of podcast just listing everything horrible that happens in Cannibal Holocaust.
So the conceit of the whole thing, then, it's a fake documentary, or the word I've just invented, a fake-umentary, about these savages. I
believe the word already exists. It's mockumentary.
Mockumentary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I always thought mockumentary was more a comedy thing, but that's fair enough. So it's mockumentary.
Yeah.
The guys in the tribe, are they an actual tribe, or are they just some guys they got into?
It was filmed with an actual tribe in Papua New Guinea. Like.
Okay.
And it does show. It does show like some of their customs and that, but you know they didn't really eat people. But like that's like it was filmed in very much this cinema verite style, like flipping like the footage is this grainy 16mm handheld like kind of footage. Like, you know, this is something that we'd later go on to see like in the Blair Witch and everything that like got popularized after it. This was like really the first incarnation of that, like.
Right. And again, another one of those that you couldn't get off the shelf in the corner shop when you went to rent your videos.
Yeah. Like the Video Nasties thing, like I'm probably going to do a deep dive of Video Nasties at some point because it's one thing that interests me quite a lot. And I think it's important to like sort of really go in full on Video Nasties because I'm seeing a lot of the things that were happening. Like I see like what I see in a lot of like attempts to like cancel people. I'm not talking about like canceling people committing actual assaults and crimes and things like. I'm talking about cancelling people for like jokes and things like that. Like I'm seeing a lot of what I'm seeing with that is how the original Video Nasty scandals came around with not Edwina Curry. What was her name? Mary Whitehouse.
Whitehouse.
Yeah, Mary Whitehouse.
So confected moral panic, basically.
Yeah. By presenting information out of context to people. And, you know, by presenting information completely out of context to people who weren't necessarily looking for that content.
Yeah.
So, obviously, they're not ready for it. They're not so, like, being presented with this information is shocking to them. And so you generate a moral outrage that you can weaponize to your own political ends.
Absolutely. I mean, they even did it with the life of Brian at around about the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, that was it. Like, you know, trying to get it done for, like, blasphemy and so forth.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, you know, even things like Ken Russell's The Devils, which still isn't like properly available uncut anywhere. Like, but they do have an uncut copy,
right? Like
which has been shown a couple of times, but the studio that owns it, they're just afraid to release it in case in case they piss off the Vatican.
Ban this sick filth from our kids and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I do feel like a bigger deep dive is needed. I think I'm going to dedicate a whole episode to Video Nasties and all that. But yeah, like a lot of the Video Nasties, very tenuous. Cannibal Holocaust, not tenuous. This film is greasy, like. Flippin', you still can't get it in this country, but the version you can get is basically uncut apart from, like, the animal injuries.
Okay.
Which is fair enough. I could understand why people would prefer that version because a lot of people want to look into this stuff, but that, you know, that is, it's very triggering to people.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. And there is a website, actually. I know this is a slight aside thing. If you're going to watch a film with somebody who's sensitive about this stuff, you can put the name of the film into, I think it's doesthedogdie.com.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you.
Ah, yeah.
Because my girlfriend's quite squeamish with animal things.
Yeah.
So even the most innocent films, we'll just stick it in that website so she doesn't get upset. So you can check for that.
Ah, yeah. But mind you, well, a lot of the ones that, like, something like Milo and Otis, like, you know.
She's not going to be lining up to watch Cannibal Holocaust, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. But I will say there is no animal cruelty in the version that's available on Prime now.
Okay.
If you do want it. But yeah, it's an incredibly powerful film that really does get under your skin.
And amazing to think as well, with all the moral panic that went on 40-odd years ago when it came out, now anybody can just turn on the TV, open up the Amazon app and watch it.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, I was very much into like the video nasties, and like trying to seek them out. Like, I'd have to go to Rex and Beast Market and like see if I could get like hooky copies of this dude who used to sell like rental videos.
Yeah,
out the side of a van, like. Which is a terrible way to have to get things. Like now, a lot of those same things that I sought out, I got really good copies of from HMV in town. I could just walk 10 minutes from my house and just buy a copy that looks better than it had ever looked in the cinema. Like, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, we'll move on for this because I really could talk about this all day long. What's your next one?
I've got a bit of a change of mood for you, this one.
Yeah.
Again, another Blaxploitation movie. This one funded by Berry Gordy and Motown Records at the time.
Oh, I think I know this. Has it got a bit of kung fu in it?
It's The Last Dragon.
Yes, I love The Last Dragon. I love The Last Dragon.
That's fantastic. Before we get into it, I've got to say, right, a black kung fu Blaxploitation movie with a lead character called Bruce Leroy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, just to start with, isn't it?
Yeah. And an enemy called Show Nuff.
Show Nuff. And, of course, you got that soundtrack album as well with The Rhythm of the Night by DeBarge on it.
Yeah, the video for which also plays in full in the middle of the movie.
Yes. Well, they had to use up a bit of the time they'd got, didn't they? It's ridiculous. One of the Cosby kids was in it, Kesha Knight Pulliam. And Vanity, Prince's ex, as well. She's in a couple of the ones I've mentioned today. But yeah, Show Nuff, the Shogun of Harlem.
Oh, yes.
Bruce Leroy was in there as well.
This film is so good. I love this film so much.
It's fantastic. Jive talking Chinese fortune cookie sellers, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
And again, this one had a little bit more budget because Berry Gordy was putting the money into it.
The whole thing came out of his pocket. Like, I mean, like, Motown were making some crazy decisions around this time. Like,
just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, throwing millions at Rick James's cocaine habit. Like, you know, the days of like the sort of factory format where the musicians had to clock in and clock out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're gone, and like now we're in the 80s. Now we're in the era of extravagance and cocaine. Lots and lots of cocaine.
Lots and lots of cocaine.
So, like, at this point, like Motown are doing some crazy things. And at one point, Berry Gordy decides, do you know what Motown needs? A kung fu movie. Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, they even had to get in outside songwriters from outside of Motown to come in and do the soundtrack album because they just couldn't get anything together. But yeah, when they left Detroit and moved the whole operation to Los Angeles, that's when this crazy stuff started happening.
Yeah, but it's those Hollywood meetings, in it, like the Hollywood hobnobbing.
Absolutely.
And the cocaine. Yeah.
Six rails, and all of a sudden, Vanity is an Oscar-winning actress.
Oh, yeah, mate. Yeah, mate. That's how it goes.
Now, I do actually remember seeing this a couple of years after it came out on a corner shop VHS rental. I thought it was the worst thing I'd ever seen at the time.
Yeah,
it is a pretty bad movie, but again, you know, if you're looking to make your money back, you're hitting the targets there with a bit of kung fu. A bit of organized crime in there as well. So yeah, it's great fun.
It doesn't really stand up as it doesn't particularly stand up as a kung fu movie.
No,
but what should we call it? It's not great as a movie in general.
No,
but
that's half the point, though.
Yeah, but as just like this kitschy time capsule. Just like it's just really good entertainment.
It is a lot of half rolled up jacket sleeves going on as well.
Oh yeah, flipping it! I love it. I keep saying it. I love this film so much. Like, I don't think there's a good Blu-ray copy of it out in the UK at the minute, but I've got a multi-region player, so I've got an import copy of the US release.
Oh,
because I had to have it in this collection. I need the best possible copy of The Last Dragon. Like,
it's great, and even I mean, I was 16 at the time, so I was reading things like smash hits at the age of 16.
Yeah.
And it was they put a lot of money into promoting it, but I don't think that many people in the UK went to see it at the time.
Yeah.
But I think let's say as a time passer. And as a snapshot of what was going on back then, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Like I say, it has on Blu-ray, but I think you can like rent it on Prime. So if anyone wants to watch it in a legitimate manner, you can do that. The Last Dragon, what a movie! Absolutely fantastic.
I think that's about as good as it gets on my list, but I'm glad I've got one of your favourites.
Okay, right. In that case, I'm going to drag the tone right down with Howling 2.
Okay.
The Howling 2, this one goes by various names. The Howling 2 on its own. The Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. And The Howling 2, Stirba, Werewolf Bitch.
Okay.
Yeah. The original Howling, absolute classic, fantastic movie by... and one of the ones that really put Joe Dante on the map. Like, after this, he'd go on to do things like Gremlins, all these types of things.
We chatted about him last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
We talked about Piranha.
Yeah. So this is it. Like he's just, like I think Piranha was his last film of the 70s, and The Howling was his first film of the 80s. Came out in the same year as American Werewolf in London. Like we just had one really good year for werewolves, and I don't think we've ever really had one since. Anyway, The Howling 2 comes out, and this is. And Joe Dante is not involved anymore. And this is very much the studio trying to get something together and make a bit of money off it. And like the Howling series, like went some weird places. Like most franchises. Like I said, I didn't include any of the major franchises. I don't really think the Howling is one of the major franchises, even though like the first one is so iconic. It's like they tend to, as they go along. They start running out of ideas and the budgets start getting lower. So there tends to be like a sort of subtle, slow drop-off in quality.
Yeah.
With that, The Howling just fell off a cliff immediately. Honestly, by 3, we're Howling 3, the marsupials, you've got flipping like were-kangaroos and shit going on.
Were-kangaroos.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
And I maintain that The Howling 7 is the worst film. The worst film of all time in any genre. Flipping, you don't see a werewolf till the last 72 seconds, but you do get like 10 in full country and western performances.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You know, many years ago, I bought from a jumble sale the tie-in novelisation of The Howling 2.
Did you?
I don't have it anymore, but I would have been about 17 or 18, I think. It had rude bits in it.
Oh, yeah.
So that was stashed under the mattress for years, that was.
Oh, yes, and there are a lot of rude bits in it. And Christopher Lee. Yeah.
Always a mark of quality, right?
Yeah, this was also one of the first films that was filmed behind the Eastern Bloc.
Okay.
And it was set, quote-unquote, in Transylvania. We've got midgets with exploding eyes. We've got... we've got werewolf orgies. We've got all kinds of things going on. The film is just like out the gate nuts, and like the Howling, like it's widely regarded, but it's a pretty mad film to begin with. Like, but so like Howling 2, like they just went off a cliff with it. And I was watching it with my girlfriend last night actually, and I pointed out like there's one like Sybil Danning's in it, and Sybil Danning, Sybil Danning in the 80s. Flipping amazing.
Lovely.
Yeah. Now, this was a film role that required nudity for several of the actors and actresses in it. And Sybil Danning agreed that she would only, expose her breasts one time for one shot.
Okay.
Yeah. They reused that shot 17 times. 17 times. 16 of which... in the end credits, because we got a band called, what's the band called? I can't remember the name. They're called like, not Bauhaus, it's Babel. Yes, Babel. Yeah, a band called Babel performing a song called The Howling, which they shot at some like new wave club in LA. Like, so apparently it was a proper punk club, like. And they had a lot of, like, actual sort of new wave punks going round in it. And, like, someone gives Christopher Lee those, like, really thin type of glasses that was...
Oh, yeah, futuristic shades.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a thing in the 80s. Someone gives Christopher Lee a pair of those, and he's walking around while this band are performing this song, The Howling. And it's a great song. They bring it back, like, a lot of times, like, that really using music in films was, like, a big thing in the 80s, and I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
And And like they also play it like just over the end credits, where it's sort of a highlight reel, during which they cut in 16. You know, we're talking like a 3-minute song here.
So this is 16 times repeated, this same shot of Sybil Danning's breasts.
Yeah. She kind of like tears her shirt open. There's like a noise. And they're like cutting it in with the beat, like.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, and cutting it in with like shots of the other characters from different parts of the films, like they're reacting, like all those kind of things. Yeah,
now you see, if she'd signed with me and I was making the film, and she said one scene, I'd make it a 20-minute tracking shot.
Well, this is it. She said once one shot on one day, like, but it is what it is, like. The joy of editing. But yeah, the Howling is just such... They're trying to do so much in it. Also features Jimmy Nail, by the way.
What?
Yes. Very early appearance.
She's lying.
Yeah. But I'm not.
Wow.
Yeah. As a punk in the, the New Wave Club at the start.
Okay.
Who gets,
Werewolf.
Him and his mates get... drawn out the club by a sexy black female werewolf who like takes them to a factory, and they all get eaten.
Wow.
So yeah, we got Jimmy Nail, we got Christopher Lee, we got Sybil Danning, we've got a fantastic title shot, and the same shot of Sybil Danning's Norks 17 times.
With a track by Babel.
Yes. So
we might as well just turn it all off and go home.
Oh yeah.
You've saved the best for that one, haven't you?
Yeah, and midgets with exploding eyeballs.
Midgets with exploding eyeballs, yeah.
All sorts of things, like, yeah. So, yeah. Are you going to watch this film, or are you going to watch this film?
Tell me, where can I see this?
I suspect, I've got the Arrow
From what you're telling me, I suspect we can probably get it on Amazon.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Jeff Bezos don't care about polluting our minds, does he?
It looks like it. Oh, it's currently unavailable on Amazon, which probably means someone's leased it somewhere.
Hey.
Yeah, I've got the Arrow Blu-ray of it, but yeah.
I'll check my Plex later, because they've got loads of them on the Plex.
Oh yeah, Plex absolutely bangs for that kind of thing. I was gonna pull open Just Watch, but maybe that's something I'll do in future.
Okay.
Yes. So moving on. Do you want to hit us with a third selection?
Yeah. Now this is one I remember being advertised as being in the cinema in this country now, maybe only for 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's our friend Carl Weathers, most famously Apollo Creed, of course.
Yeah.
Action Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Very good. Very good.
So that was Apollo Creed. Sorry, it's Carl Weathers is his real name, isn't it?
Yeah.
And our great friend Vanity turns up again in this one.
Yeah, flipping making the list twice is quite remarkable.
It is. It just shows you how few blaxploitation films they made in the 80s.
Yeah, that's when like. There's a lot of talk about industry plants nowadays, but in the 80s it really was a thing. There was so many artists where they really did just try to make them happen by just throwing money and opportunities at them. Like.
Absolutely, despite a complete lack of ability in those departments.
Yeah.
But I mean, this one's a cracker because he's Sergeant Action Jackson, right?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. Do you want to just roll through the breakdown while I?
Yeah, sure thing. He's always got a ready quip. He doesn't listen to his boss. He bends the rules to get shit done.
Yes,
basically.
Yes.
So classic cop from that time. He goes after a corrupt drug lord, basically, who's killing the local union officials. Everything he does has a catchphrase attached to it, like James Bond, but 20 times cheesier. And as I say, it got a cinema release in this country. It was, I'd say, a medium to sort of low priority release for the studios. I'm sure I remember a TV advert for it. But you can't knock a movie with Carl Weathers.
You just can't, like, flipping. Also, like, great in Predator, like, flipping. Iconic. He's had, like... He's got a couple of iconic roles under his belt, like.
Well, I believe it was when he was filming Predator, he was actually pitching this movie. And they liked him in Predator so much that they gave him the money to go and do it.
Ah, fair dues. That makes sense. Like I mean, like, a lot of... There's some really big actors that have never really had, like, an iconic role. but have just been like amazing actors throughout their whole career. But he's got a couple of iconic roles under his belt. Like that is not to be underestimated.
Yes. Sharon Stone's in this as well for about half a second.
Yeah.
If you find it online to watch it, if you see a DVD cover, it's basically a tiny little picture of Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
And a big blown up picture of Sharon Stone. So it's basically misleading you. She really isn't in it that much. And it's 80s Sharon Stone. So we're talking all the big frizz hair going on and stuff. But I mean, and that was made by MGM Studio, which was a major studio. Again, as we were saying earlier, that's kind of in the genre of we can spend virtually bugger all on this and guarantee ourselves some good money out of it. So Kinell's looking it up now. Have you found it?
I was having a look, like, yeah, it's available to rent on most services. It's not available free anywhere. But, yeah, it's available to rent on all your...
They should be probably be paying you to watch it, to be fair.
Yeah. I have got my thing set to America, but if it's available to rent, it probably is, like... Also, there's an Action Jackson from 2014 and all.
What, a remake? Oh, my goodness.
No. This, appears to be like a Bollywood thing.
Okay.
Yeah. A man meets his lookalike who's not just a killer of evil, but also a kind-hearted man. Together they team up to fight against a dreaded gangster. Sounds completely unrelated.
It is completely unrelated, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Unbelievable. And, of course, in the end, everything turns out fine. It's all good. And he gets promoted to Lieutenant Action Jackson.
Lieutenant Action Jackson. So his first name is Action.
No, he's got a different first name. God knows what it is. But everybody just calls him Action Jackson because he's ready with his fists.
Yeah.
And a witty quip as well, you know?
Fair dues.
Aye.
Yeah.
So that's my number 3. Again... It must have been the cocaine factor that convinced people that that Vanity was capable of even emoting on screen. But she won't get another mention from me today. Don't worry.
Are we sure?
I promise.
100%.
99.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on, and I am going to go for Pieces next.
Okay, I've not heard of this.
Pieces. This is a movie that came out of the slasher cycle. I'm just going to pull up a couple of facts about it.
Okay.
This is actually a Spanish movie that's... this was a Spanish movie. It's from 1982 that was sort of like made to look like it was an American. And there's kind of a bit of a giallo edge to it, but it's like pretty much a slasher. And it's set on a Boston College campus.
Right.
Filmed in Barcelona. So they do things like that. There was a lot of things like where that like European films do films set in America. So like they just redub the voices and like they just have like an American flag in every scene and all this kind of thing.
Somebody eating a Twinkie at the back of the class.
Yeah, but like way more blatant than that. They're really overdoing it, and like it's consists of someone is like killing co-eds and trying to collecting body parts using a chainsaw, all kinds of mad things.
Okay.
Mysterious character that's like obscured with a hat and coat, like you can't really see who it is. Like it's probably one of the cast members. So there's like lots of like shitty people in the cast, like because that's the thing with a lot of like giallo films, like mystery films, like if you're going to have a list of suspects, if you want, you've kind of got to make a lot of people that are just pretty shitty human beings.
I was going to say, you need a selection of bastards to choose from, don't you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of that going on here, and this is another one, but this is a grubby one. Yeah, okay. It's proper grubby. Like there's one scene where a woman is being I think that like someone's trying to kill him with a chainsaw. Okay. She's escaped into a room and the chainsaw's coming through the door, and like the woman pisses herself. Apparently the actress did piss herself, and they did just zoom in and leave it in the film. Like,
Okay.
So it must have been pretty fucking terrifying to film, like.
Well, yeah, by the sounds of things.
Yeah. This is a film that's often cited by Eli Roth as one of his all-time favourites. There's a lot of people because a lot of people associate slasher movies with the big franchises, but this is one of the ones that slipped under the radar, and it's not part of that. That has to be considered as one of the greats, just because of the cult status it's picked up over the years.
So when this guy's got all his chainsaw bits of co-eds, what's he planning to do with them?
He's just literally planning to put them all together. Like, there's a bit at the start where some child is experiences something traumatic, which would send him on to being a killer, like.
Right.
And it involves a jigsaw. Some blood gets on a jigsaw, and like something triggers him later in life, which I only found out from the Wikipedia page, because it's not explained very clearly in the movie at all. And he just suddenly decides that he's got to build a jigsaw woman out of parts of various murder victims. You know, kind of like, your man in Blood Feast collecting organs to sacrifice to Ishtar. But in this case, it's just because he's just a mad bastard.
Because he had a bloody jigsaw when he was a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some really, really intense sequences in this. It's very trashy. It's very sleazy. But some of the bits have a real tension to them. And it's another one that really gets under your skin. Like, I'd say it's like, what, probably, I don't know, I'd like to say it's in, like, yeah, it's a top 5 slasher for me. It's a top 5 slasher for me.
And is this one we can get on streaming at the moment? Do you know?
I think so.
I imagine you've got the platinum standard 4K 3D Blu-ray, haven't you?
I've only got a manky old, I've only got a manky old Blu-ray of it. But
goodness me.
Oh yeah, it's on the you can get it with on the Arrow video app, which I've got, which is flipping fantastic. I'd strongly recommend subscribing to Arrow.
Okay.
Because they're brilliant. Like, they've got really good horror, really good kung fu, and all that. Get the app itself, but you can get it via the Prime channel.
Right.
The Prime channel.
So is that something you'd pay to rent with Prime, I guess, with those?
Well, because they've got their Arrow video channel on Prime, so you can so you could do like a 7-day free trial and watch it that way.
Okay.
So yeah, pieces like that. It's such a grubby one. Like, the whole aesthetic to it, it really is something that just gets under your skin. Like,
goodness me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't really have many good facts for that one. So do you want to?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, this next one of mine, you'll probably know more about this than me from what we've said before coming in. 1984, Black Devil Doll from Hell.
Yes.
Which is it's an appalling film. I saw it once years and years ago. The theatrical cut for this is 70 minutes long.
Yeah.
The director's cut 140 minutes long.
Yeah.
So you can tell. I haven't seen the director's cut, but I imagine it's pretty dross.
Yeah. This is originally one of the first films that was like. That was released that was shot on VHS. It was shot entirely on video on the first sort of camcorders that were available. Like, I mean, like, technically, like, in 1982 we got Boarding House, but that was like shot on VHS, then transferred to film for release.
Okay.
This one was literally made on video, like, and it's safe to say it's kind of a riff on the Trilogy of Terror. Zuni fetish doll bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I was reading, by the way, that the guy who directed it had to direct it bit by bit because he was doing a movie director's correspondence course. So every time he got a new lesson in the post, he was able to make a bit more of the film.
Really?
Apparently so, from what I was reading.
So he was doing distance learning by post.
He was doing distance learning by post.
Yeah.
His mate did the soundtrack and borrowed his mum's $100 Casio keyboard to do the soundtrack for it. And of course, the Black Devil doll itself, famously modelled on Rick James.
Damn.
And put into a dress.
Unity.
And when you actually see the film, it's almost as if it's a different Black Devil doll when they're moving around, because the director put his nephew in a dress, and got him to do the walking around stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's is there such a thing as zero budget movies? Because I think this is one of them.
Yeah, it certainly was. This is a really important this is like. It's not a great movie, but it's important for what it is in terms of, like, this really is like a sort of turning point.
The do-it-yourself ethos of it.
Yeah, in independent punk shot on video cinema in the 80s, like, you know, which moves on to things like Bloodhook and Things and all these kind of films.
Okay.
Like there's very much a cult following, like, and there's an appreciation for it that goes through to this day. Like, I haven't actually done the review for it, like, this isn't a review show, but I was contacted by the director of a film called, like, Psycho Ape, and
okay,
who sent me a review copy, and I flipping checked that out, and, like, there's still films that, like, are sort of made with a kind of, like, love for the aesthetic and the sort of off-the-wall nature of these, like, early shot-on-video things.
Fantastic. And I mean, it's basically a black soft porn horror flick.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of, shall we say, dubious dialogue going on in there.
Yeah, it is soft porn, like. And like
well, there's your answer.
But like soft porn was also like, it's worth tying that in. It's worth noting that does kind of tie in with the shot on video independent movie movement.
Well, absolutely.
Because there was a lot of directors that would get into porn and like they'd make their little horror films on the side. Like, I mean, like, that's a tradition that goes back to like Wes Craven, like, who.
Of course. And it became so much cheaper for everybody to do when the VHS camcorders came out, didn't it?
Yeah, and then you've got people who are like you'd make the porn parodies, the horror movies, like the Erotic Witch Project and all that, like, and all this kind of thing. And like the directors who make them, like, most of them come from like are doing it from a real love of the genre, but like by making porn films, which they will be able to sell, they could kind of like fund their own little projects, and they could also bring their own little influence into this mutt.
Yeah, and of course those porn parodies of horror movies and other movies, they were big business for a while, weren't they?
Yeah. Kind of killed off by the internet, whereas now like porn's like defined by search terms.
It is, yeah, search terms and mobile phones.
Yeah, so that element of the art has kind of gone forever. But yeah.
Someone will bring it back.
Yeah, so like Black Devil Doll from Hell, like, how were you introduced to this?
I think this was a late night drunken Saturday night as a much younger guy around at somebody's house and digging out a VHS and going, you guys have got to see this.
Yeah.
And then sitting there for an hour and 10 minutes and just falling about laughing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, it didn't feel at the time like there was anything serious about it at all. And I've probably only thought about the film maybe 3 times since I saw it back in the day. But of course, when I was looking through a list of 80s Blaxploitation films to bring you today, it jumped off the page. That little squat nephew in a dress wandering about.
Yep. I wonder how he got on in life after that. Now, that's something I'd like to see a Where Are They Now about, for real. That's something, innit?
It would be.
Yeah.
It would be. So what's your next one?
Okay, 4th selection. I'm going to go for Roger Corman funded. This is an AIP film.
Okay.
I'm going to go for Humanoids from the Deep.
I've heard of. I might have even seen a VHS case for this.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
It's kind of like a riff on the eco-terror things like Piranha, because obviously like Roger Corman was doing a lot of that, and also there's a bit of a like Creature from the Black Lagoon going on it.
Nice.
But like I suppose the central conceit of it is like, what if it was Piranha, but with multiple creatures from the Black Lagoon who are rapists?
Okay.
Now, that's a strong setup by anyone's standard.
I was going to say, you could go all the way to the bit where and they're rapists, and you still got a cracking movie there.
Yeah. You didn't really need to add that bit all in there at all. Like, it's absolutely crazy. It's an insane piece of work. Like, I think I watched it like a couple of times and never really understood it, but there's not much to understand. But the last time I watched it, something just clicked the way like, this is hilarious. So
what's the basic story, and how do we get to the multiple creatures of the Black Lagoon coming out and getting handy?
A fisherman and a scientist fight back when loathsome mossy sea monsters from the depths of the ocean assault women.
I've got people in my street who are loathsome mossy sea monsters.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to stay well away.
Yeah. It's quite wild. As you can imagine, it's Roger Corman. It's an exploitation movie, and mossy sea monsters assaulting women. But one twist in it is that it was directed by a woman, Barbara Peters.
Okay.
Yeah, to be fair to Roger Corman, like, he was very much like, the king of exploitation production. But he did give a lot of chances to, like, women directors and women creatives, a lot more so than the actual Hollywood system itself. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, if you look at the Slumber Party Massacre franchise, there was 3 films that came out of that. We recently had a remake. It's the only franchise, from Roger Corman that has been exclusively written and directed by women.
Excellent.
Yeah. Incredible stuff, like, so, and there is that stuff. I'd say my favourite, Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Why is that one your favourite out of the 3?
Because it's the killer who has a massive drill attached to a guitar.
Okay.
Is also a breakdancing teddy boy rocker that appears in dreams. Like, it's very, very surreal.
This is one I might need to dig out this weekend, actually.
Now Slumber Party Massacre 2 is great. Like, but yeah, another time when he gave a chance to a woman who wouldn't have been given a chance by the Hollywood system was with Humanoids from the Deep. However, when she turned the film in, he did reshoot it. He did have it reshot with more nudity, something the director herself was never truly happy with. It's a very sleazy exploitational one, but it's fun. It's vibes. It's 1980. Like, at this point, we've already had Alien. Sci-fi. We've had Star Wars and that, so sci-fi has become like, a much bigger budget thing. You can't have like cheap sci-fi anymore, although Roger Corman tried.
I was going to say, you've got Battle Beyond the Stars, haven't you, with Roger Corman?
Yeah. He tried to keep doing sci-fi on the cheap long after it wasn't a thing. Like, and also you've got films like Halloween and Friday the 13th, which have made horror more grounded. You're not really getting creature features like that. And, the kind of eco-terror wave post-Jaws has kind of faded away, even though Jaws sequels would be coming out. There weren't really any Jaws rip-offs. So, like, to get a straight-up, flipping, crazy, sleazy, exploitational monster movie coming out in 1980, like, only Corman. And this is a fantastic example. I'd recommend it to anyone.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I'm thinking about Slumber Party Massacre 2. I'm going to go find
Honestly, that is a fantastic one that anyone should see.
Brilliant stuff. Do you want me fifth?
Yeah, man. Hit it.
Now, my fifth one, there's some interesting milestones in this one. It's a film called One Down, Two to Go. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it was basically the first of what I call the Blaxploitation greatest hits movies. So in this, you've got Jim Brown.
Yep.
You've got Richard Roundtree, who was Shaft. You've got Jim Kelly, who was the Kung Fu Blaxploitation guy, and Fred Williamson, the Hammer himself. So you've got the 4 of the biggest stars of Blaxploitation.
Yeah, this is like Blaxploitation Expendables. This.
Yeah, coming back to do another one. And this was 1982. So as I say, this was quite an early one. There's a great one from 1996 with Pam Grier called Original Gangstas. Which is great fun, and again bringing that whole aesthetic back, but in the middle of the 90s. And then walking down the street with their semi-automatic machine
I
guns.
think I've seen that. Like,
it's a little cracker that, but this one basically it's set in a martial arts dojo So Jim Kelly's got something to do.
Is right.
In LA, and basically they're finding out that these big martial arts tournaments are rigged by the local mafia. So
God damn it!
They're going to put a stop to that.
So we got Italian versus Asian beef already.
Yes,
and the black community's going to sort it out.
Absolutely. The great thing about this is none of the fights in this movie were staged. They were all proper kung fu sters.
Yeah.
And basically,
that's very interesting to me.
They're filming these tournaments at this LA dojo. And basically, they're saying to these kung fu enthusiasts, right, you fight him. Whoever wins gets $500. Yeah. Whoever loses gets 100. And then you can go home.
Yeah.
So they've got all these fights that there's no punch pulling.
Yeah.
Or Rudy Ray style theatrical falling over a foot away from somebody's foot. These were real fights that they put into this, and basically just paid the guys as if it was a tournament.
I rate that, man. I rate that.
Really fascinated me. The other thing was that Fred Williamson...
See, now this is the real version. This is what the real version of, like, when they're killing the animals that they are going to eat anyway. Like,
yes.
That's what you do instead. You pay fighters that are going to fight anyway.
Pay some guys to beat the hell out of each other, The other great thing with this one, and again, as a movie on its own, it's not especially appalling. It's not especially great. But other than the paid for the fighting, Fred Williamson was the executive producer on the movie. And he's never named the bank that funded the movie. He said it was a European bank. He went there, and instead of taking out a loan, he managed to get the guy so interested that the guy said, my bank will invest money into this movie to make it. And then, where they agreed all these returns and what have you, the movie flopped so hard that the bank didn't get a red cent back from it. So that's how to get your movie funded for free.
Yeah.
Definitely. But again, so this was the first of the what I call the comeback movies, the greatest hits films. And of course, the one that everybody knows, whether you're into your exploitation cinema or not, getting up to about 97 with Jackie Brown.
Yes. So
Jackie Brown bringing back Pam Grier, who, of course, Lord Almighty, Pam Grier.
Incredible.
That was Tarantino's love letter to Blaxploitation films. But by then, you'd already got these guys coming back, trying to combine with each other, trying to find a way of cracking back into the market again.
Yeah, flipping excellent stuff.
So there you go. So I'd have loved to have seen Rudy Ray doing some kung fu with these lads.
Oh yeah, flipping! I'd be fully down for that.
He'd have been in tears by the end of it, and that's a 1982 one. So okay. That's my fifth.
Right, I'm going to wrap it up with I'm going to take it to a zombie movie.
Cool.
It's another Italian movie, and it's from the great Lucio Fulci, one of my all-time favourite directors.
Absolutely.
Now, what you call it at this point, Lucio Fulci, off the back of Zombie Flesh Eaters, a.k.a. Zombie 2, a.k.a. Zombie, depending on where you are located in the world.
Okay.
He's riding high off the release of that. So, at this point, he's like sort of like giving a lot of money to make more zombie films. He's kind of allowed to like go into a bit more of his own territory with them. So he creates the Gates of Hell trilogy, and I'm talking about the first one, The City of the Living Dead.
Right.
In which a reporter and a psychic race to close the gates of hell after the suicide of a clergyman caused them to open, allowing the dead to rise from their graves.
Wow.
Yeah, this one, again, a video nasty, like, flipping. I love all the Gates of Hell films, like The Beyond and House of the Living Dead and House by the Cemetery, also very close to my heart, like, and I go back and forth between The Beyond and City of the Living Dead, but I feel like a lot more's been said about The Beyond, and The Beyond gets discussed more, so I felt like, I'm going to pull up City of the Living Dead here. This is incredible. This is one of my favourite Italian exploitation movies, and like no one really did exploitation movies like the Italians. Like the thing about them is like you've probably seen ones you don't know, because obviously like you had the spaghetti westerns,
yes, of course,
which were all Italian. They all had it was all the bad dubbing, because Italian films would never film scenes with live sound.
No, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've seen some of the old spy spoof ones they did in the 60s.
Yes.
Trying to get on board with the James Bond stuff. And is it Adolfo Celli?
Yeah.
Who was in Thunderball. Is in a lot of those as well. And again, the dubbing on them is dramatically bad.
Yeah, it goes back to Mussolini.
Right.
Because at the time, like Mussolini, don't know if you know this about him, not a nice chap.
No, apparently not.
Not a nice chap, and didn't like people saying bad things about him. So he was very concerned about the film industry, which he wanted to grow, but he wanted to make sure that people weren't making films that were saying nasty things about him.
Of course.
And so a government official had to be present when every line was spoken. Now, obviously, this is a fucking pain in the arse, taking some government official to wherever you're filming, taking him with you. So record without sound, and then you just have the government official in the recording studio while you do the ADR.
While you were dubbing it, right.
So this is why the Italian movies never had live sound in them. But, of course, then they realise, okay, well, if we're dubbing them anyway, we could dub them into any language. It also means we can hire any actor, even if they don't speak Italian, and we'll just get people to, like, speak whatever language.
Just move their mouths a bit.
Yeah, exactly that. So when we get the spaghetti westerns, they start making westerns, just get Clint Eastwood. You know, no problem. And we got a couple of... And like the two main actors out of this were British. It's the legendary Catriona MacColl and Christopher George.
Oh, where would we know either of those two names from? Because I can't say I've heard of either of them.
I'll be honest, mostly these type of films, like Catriona MacColl. I think she was also in a house. I think she was also in House by the Cemetery. These are people that were moving in these kind of circles.
A bit like the Hammer stock players they had back in the 60s and 70s, you know, that turned up in every movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this film's like quite interesting because it's considered a zombie movie, and there are certainly zombies in it, and there is some violent gore in it, like violent gore. Again, this is a video nasty, but this one has kind of like a Lovecraftian influence.
Okay.
Like it begins with a priest hanging himself, and then all these things start happening, and it's got very much a New England vibe. Like he's really kind of like captured New England, and like that's Lovecraft country, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I mean, like I remember, like I've battled in like outside of Boston in this place called Haverhill, and I remember like going back, like listening to an audio book of what you call it, H.P. Lovecraft stories and that,
right.
and noticing like, hang on, I've been to these places, like, you know, like. So, like, to do it in Boston automatically, and to have it be concerned with the unknown automatically kind of introduces, like, this Lovecraftian element from the offset. But Lucio Fulci, like, he's a director with a career that spans many years. He had a lot of different styles. Turned his hand to giallo, and like he turned his hand to like even comedies. He even dabbled in a meta commentary about his own life with The Cat in the Brain.
Okay.
But he also did gore movies better than probably anyone. And like he did a lot of films that weren't, but he seems to have his fans of his gore movies and fans of his other movies, and those two groups don't like the other ones.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess it makes sense when you think about it, but yeah, I mean, good for him that he was able to spread himself about and get lots of stuff made, I guess.
Yeah, and there was some crazy stuff happens in this. Like, there's one scene when like the characters are being literally pelted with a hail of moths. Apparently, like there was some kind of like not moths, maggots.
Right.
Like they must have used some kind of like kind of leaf blower device to just power that many maggots towards them, and they used actual maggots because they're the Italians. They're absolutely crazy. I mean, Dario Argento during the filming of Inferno introduced a whole species of a rat to Italy.
No way.
Yeah, he did. Like it was a Japanese species, because there's one bit in the film where this woman's like knocking about some sewers, and he wanted to have some like rats knocking around looking suspicious, but all of the species that were available in Italy didn't look quite right for his vision.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had like 100 rats imported just for the scene from the Japanese species of rat. I don't know what they were called. I don't know what any species of rat's called. I'm a fucking idiot. Don't ask me for information on these kind of things. And 100 rats did not make it back into their cages at the end.
Oh dear.
No, they escaped and they bred like rats, and it permanently altered the ecology of that whole area of Europe forever for like a 3-minute shot in the film. And it's not even a film about rats or anything.
So if you're in Italy and you see a particularly sinister looking rat, it's one of his.
Yeah.
Or one of the descendants, obviously.
Yeah, quite possibly. But this is it, like that. This is why Italian exploitation cinema was so good, because around this time, because they were just letting the directors go fucking nuts, and certain people really took to it. And Lucio Fulci was one of those guys, an absolute legend. Like, he really believed in the concept of pure cinema. Like, you should just be able to sit in the cinema, just point your face at the screen and just feel emotion. And, you know, sometimes that involves, like, eye gougings and brains being torn out the back of someone's skull with a fist and all this kind of thing that does happen in these films. But, like, you know, so it was all about the experience, like, letting it wash over you and, like, making you feel emotions over such ridiculous things as having a script that makes sense.
Yes.
Script that makes sense for nerds, mate. We just want the craziness. But yeah, like the Gates of Hell trilogy is very important to me. Again, these were video nasties. These were things that I'd have originally seen as like heavily edited VIPCO versions. And like now I've got them all on Blu-ray that I just bought from HMV 10 minutes from my house.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so fantastic to be able to really experience these things. But yeah, City of the Living Dead, that's the one I'm shouting out.
Okay. Just before we finish, you mentioned Lovecraft movies, Lovecraftian movies. I saw recently that Nicolas Cage one.
Oh, Colour Out of
Space. I felt quite queasy by the end of that.
Yeah, that's a mad one, that. Like, directed by Richard Stanley, who also did Hardware.
Of course, back in the 80s, wasn't it?
And he started doing the version of, like, The Island of Dr. Moreau, the Val Kilmer version of Marlon Brando.
That's right.
He was initially the director on that. But, like, he got kicked off the project. But he snuck back on set disguised as a creature and spent his time, like...
Didn't he make some kind of documentary when he went back with the Dr. Moreau thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Colour Out of Space, proper body horror mentalness, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's absolute lunacy. I was watching a Nicolas Cage film. Some Nicolas Cage films you watch because you want to watch a film. Sometimes you want to watch a Nicolas Cage film. And I was watching the Nicolas Cage version of The Wicker Man yesterday.
Oh, with the bees.
Yeah, but what's it called? I saw the other cut. There's the director's cut and the regular cut. One cut as the not the bees bit at the end, and one doesn't, which is
probably a better cut then.
Well, it's just wild because they still include everything where they spend like loads of the film setting up that he's got Chekhov's bee allergy. and they just do it for no reason. Like, he's allergic to bees. He's allergic to bees. Here's the thing that shows he's allergic to bees, and we set him on fire. Fire somewhere bees notoriously not big fans of.
No.
Yeah.
It's true. I've seen, by the way, I don't know if you've seen the trailers for this new Nicolas Cage one yet, where he plays himself.
No, I haven't.
Apparently it's a very meta. It's something like the unbearable heaviness of being Nicolas Cage or something along those lines.
Kind of like a being John Malkovich kind of
almost
thing,
yeah. He's playing a version of himself in that. So I'll be sniffing around the YTS website over the next few weeks to try and get hold of a copy of that.
Yeah.
So there you are. So that was my Blaxploitation 80s basically.
Okay, and that's my exploitation 80s. So yeah, we wrapped another episode there, I reckon. Is there anything you want to plug before we get off?
I've got no projects going on really.
Okay.
I'm hosting the Queen's Jubilee Festival in Hambridge on the 3rd of June.
I had no idea that was a thing. Well, I live in Hambridge.
Well, there you go. You see, I've got a whole Queen confusion thing I'm working on. So I might actually come out dressed as Freddie Mercury on that day. Other than that, no, nothing to plug.
Yeah, I'm pretty anti-monarchy, but I am like...
so am I, but they're paying.
Yeah, well, fair dues. I'm anti-monarchy, but but I am very pro drinking in the middle of the street for any excuse. So.
Well, I'll see you there then.
Okay, yeah, I'll probably jam along to that in some context.
All
okay, yeah, I didn't put my plugs here, but my battles have been announced for Don't Flop April Fools. So by the time you hear this, you should still be able to get tickets for a £5. That's down in Bristol at the Jam Jar. I'm going to be doing a regular written battle against Reavers. He's one of my favourites for last year. I took a little shot at him during the shuffle battle, so I felt like it's only right to let him get his bars off before I crush him, destroy his soul. And I'm also going to be doing a freestyle battle with my regular freestyle partner Boski against and Mr. Tongue Twister. But it's a freestyle 2-on-2, but the theme is it's got to be the same multi-rhyme scheme.
Right.
So there's going to be like one like sequence of syllables, and then we've all got to come up with a bar on the spot to insult the other one that rhymes multi-syllabically.
A bit like playing Simon, but as a battle rapper. A bit like, but you know the old game Simon where you used to have to follow the pattern? Is that kind of what you mean? So you might get, I don't know, a set of syllables that goes dum-da-dum-da-dum,
yes.
dum-dum, and then you've got to fit into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of it, yeah.
It's all right. This is my non-battle rap brain trying to wrap my head around this, you see?
Yeah, but yeah, that's basically it.
Fantastic.
But okay, yeah, anyway, this has been Sinister Cinema. I'm Kinell. Big up Parsley for coming.
See you again soon.
Catch us next week. Safe.